Chapter 1183. With the physique of the Sioux clan's people. Even if Sioux was a sage realm expert, she wouldn't be able to defeat him. Third great uncle is really powerful to think of such a way to torture Sioux. When the time comes, he will personally control his own Sioux clan's people to die. Presumably, his heart will be in great pain. This can be considered as revenge for the evil Dr. Gui Tong killing one of our Qing clan's foreign elders and robbing us of our Earth-level spirit ship. The Qing clan's disciple thought so and suddenly felt even more proud. As for the Qing clan's elder, it was needless to say. Who let Sioux be under the control of evil Dr. Gui Tong? They couldn't deal with evil Dr. Gui Tong, so naturally, they could only vent their anger on him. It just so happened that he had enmity with their Qing clan, so it was just like killing two birds with one stone. The Qing clan's elder thought and suddenly sneered as he put on the special magic tool issued by the Dark Arena. When the magic tool was put on his finger, he suddenly felt that he seemed to have established a subtle connection with the Qing clan's disciple in the room. At the same time, in the room, the Qing clan's disciple clearly felt that his control over his body was taken away. However, because he knew this when he first came in, he didn't panic in his heart. Suyu's side was the same. After she injected her spiritual power into the magic tool, she immediately felt that she had established a connection with the Sioux clan's general. Jia, Suyu, are you ready? Ready, then let's begin. After the Qing clan's elder controlled the disciple's movements, he slightly moved his body. Then, with a boom, he launched an attack at the Sioux clan's general. Bang! Suyu controlled the body of the Sioux clan's general to dodge. However, after a long period of abuse and torture, the Sioux clan's general's physical quality was very weak. She barely controlled him to dodge to the side, but he was still swept by the attack of the Qing clan's disciple controlled by the Qing clan's elder. In an instant, the Sioux clan's general vomited blood and flew to the side, heavily smashing into the wall. Cousin. In the Wendual room, all the pain from the attacks would be borne by the contestant. The person who was controlling it would not feel any harm. However, when he saw the Sioux clan's general being sent flying while vomiting blood, Sioux felt as if his heart was being ruthlessly torn apart. She was the youngest in the Sioux family, but because of her high innate talent, she was raised as a boy. She had been the pride of the Sioux clan's main branch for 18 years. These Sioux clan's generals had also protected her for 18 years. In the end, she couldn't do anything to help them. She couldn't even save them. Third brother. Looking at the Sioux family's high-ranking officer being ruthlessly thrown out, the Sioux family's troops under the control of the Qing family instantly burst into a commotion. The Sioux family's generals, who had been tortured until they were as thin as firewood, looked at the scene in the Wendual room with red eyes. Their eyes were filled with hatred as they looked at the members of the Qing family. Trash of the Qing family. All of you will die a horrible death. Since you can't beat our Sioux clan, you resorted to underhanded means. In the future, when hell reincarnates, we will not let you off. You people of the Qing family, just you wait. Chapter 1184. That's right. Fight again. We soldiers can die in battle, but we can't kneel to live. Fight again. Following their voices, the Sioux family's general, who had been sent flying while vomiting blood, stood up shakily. His internal organs were almost displaced by the attack just now, and the blood he spat out was red with a tinge of black. He wiped the blood from his lips while supporting himself on the wall behind him to stand up. Again. Suyu, your cousin's dignity is in your hands. Don't let me die too cowardly. He spat out the blood in his mouth as he spoke. Humph. Shameless boasting. I'll fulfill your wishes and send you off one by one. The Qing family elder sneered and controlled the Qing family disciple on his side to launch an attack. Being able to let you die under Su Yu's control is considered a worthy death. Ha! The Qing family elder laughed loudly and controlled the Qing family disciple to launch an extremely ferocious killing move. Cousin. Just when Su Yu's eyes were red and she didn't dare to look, a voice suddenly resounded in her ears. 8 steps to the left, turn right, and roll. Swing your blade. Following this extremely familiar voice, Su Yu subconsciously followed the meaning of the words. However, swing the blade. Where did the blade come from? Everyone was attracted by the voice of these words. Their gazes shifted to the room where the duel was taking place. On the other hand, the elder of the Qing family who was controlling the disciples of the Qing family laughed wantonly. Ha! Where did this fool come from? That Su family general doesn't have a weapon in his hand. Idiot! The opponent was attacked from the beginning, so how could he have a chance to touch a weapon? Furthermore, even if he has a weapon in his hand, he can't dodge the attack controlled by me. However, before he could finish his words, he was instantly like a chicken that was choked by the neck. In an instant, all the mocking laughter came to an abrupt end. Under Su Yu's control, the Su family's general took 8 steps to the left, then turned to the right, and then fiercely rolled. Coincidentally, it rolled to the side of the weapon rack. There was a saber right in front of him. This series of actions miraculously allowed him to avoid the attack of the Qing family disciple controlled by the Qing family elder. This caused the Su clan's general, who was clearly an arrow at the end of its flight, to be swept away by the aftermath of the attack, to not receive the slightest bit of attack or collision. Clang! As he rolled to the side of the weapon rack, he pulled out the long saber and suddenly swung it. Ah! Along with this miserable cry. Under the control of the elder of Qing clan, the disciple of Qing clan who had just released his killing move covered his arm as he screamed miserably and rolled on the ground. His right hand had been severed. In the duel room, one could not use any power other than physical strength. Even if the true strength of the Qing clan's descendant was enough to instantly kill the extremely weak Su clan's general, however, under the situation where he couldn't use any cultivation power, his arm was forcibly severed. In the next second. Chapter 1185. At the same time, the Su family's general also fell heavily to the ground, panting heavily. He won. He actually won. Everyone looked at this scene in shock. They didn't know why the Su family's general was clearly going to die in the next second, but at the last moment, he suddenly turned the situation around. His last series of actions was simply like moving clouds and flowing water, perfect as a textbook. Every step he took was just right. Just right to avoid the attack of the Qing family's disciple and get the saber. Direct counterattack. This series of actions was simply the pinnacle of actual combat. The person who spoke must be very experienced in actual combat. Everyone thought so and immediately looked towards the door where the voice came from. There, Luo Qingtong was dressed in green, elegant and plain, looking very unremarkable. But her face was filled with an undisguised evil smile, which made the elegant and plain aura around her unconcealable, revealing an indescribable evil and domineering aura. Everyone looked at this obviously very ordinary-looking youth, but inexplicably couldn't move their eyes away. Luo Qingtong slowly walked in from outside the door. The smile on her lips was extremely evil and unrestrained. Life and death battle. Interesting. I'll play with you. As Luo Qingtong's figure walked in from outside, the Qing family's elder who had lost a Qing family's disciple looked at her with a cold expression. Who are you? What qualifications do you have to play with me? His voice was cold and stern. The other party ruined his good thing, simply deserved to die. She actually dared to say that she wanted to continue playing with him. The Qing family's elder's face was gloomy to the extreme. On the other side, after Siu let the Luo family's Iron Army's people help her cousin up, she immediately looked over with a pleasantly surprised expression. Moss. She was about to speak, but Luo Qingtong raised her hand to stop her. Yi Jiu, Tian Xie's nameless pawn. What? Qing family's elder doesn't dare to play with me. Luo Qingtong walked over to Su Yu and the others. She sat down in front of a group of excited people. At the same time, she used her eyes to signal them to sit down. Su Yu and the others couldn't suppress the excitement in their hearts. Seeing that Luo Qingtong didn't want to reveal her identity, they immediately suppressed the excitement in their hearts and forced themselves to sit down calmly. But in fact, their hearts were already crazily thinking, "Master is here. Master is here. This is really too great." The group of people were really sullen. Especially the Luo family's Iron Army's people. Seeing Su Yu's people's heart, they couldn't bear it. Luo Qingtong's appearance. Everyone was surprised, but their hearts were also filled with joy and excitement. Master. Kill Qing family's peoples. They had previously abused the Su family so miserably. Master's master Su. You must help Su Yu to vent her anger. The Luo family's Iron Army's people suppressed their voices and whispered to Luo Qingtong. The words of the Su family's general in the Wendual room just now deeply moved them. The Luo family's Iron Army's people were almost all from the army, so they empathized with the Su family's people. Because of this, they especially hated the Qing family's people. Don't forget, the Luo family's old man was also wholeheartedly devoted to the country. In the end, he was almost killed by King Dong Li's cunning rabbit and cooked dog. Chapter 1186. Yes. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes slightly. She had just arrived here, and she had already learned almost everything from the onlookers. The people of the Qing family were really looking for death. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. The bloody light in her eyes glowed, and there was a murderous aura in her beautiful eyes. Humph. I didn't know that there was such a person like you in the heavenly diabolism. Yi Zhou. The elder from the Qing family looked coldly in Luo Qingtong's direction with an unfriendly gaze. There was no such person before the heavenly diabolism. You also said that there was no such person before. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. She lazily leaned against the back of the chair she was sitting on. His eyes were shimmering with crimson mist as he looked at the elder of the Qing family. Can't you just join now? She smiled wantonly. So you people of the Qing family are in charge of everything, and you even care whether the heavenly diabolism recruits new members or not. She raised her eyebrows as she spoke. It was an ordinary face that had been disguised, but when the girl raised her eyebrows, it revealed a myriad of charm, enchanting and domineering. It was as if an originally ordinary robe suddenly emitted endless light, transforming into a rainbow-colored feather robe. Luo Qingtong didn't suppress her aura anymore. She leaned back in her chair, and her eyes were cold and domineering. She stared at the elder of the Qing family in front of her. She looked like she was saying, I just can't stand you, so I deliberately joined the heavenly diabolism to fight against you. Bite me if you dare. Looking at the young man's provocative eyes, the blue veins on the elder's forehead twitched. Good. 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 He sneered 3 times, and looked at Luo Qingtong with anger. Nowadays, any Tom, Dick, and Harry wants to stand up for others. Why don't you take a look at yourself first? That Qing family elder looked at Luo Qingtong's ordinary face with disdain. She looked like she was only 15 or 16 years old. Luo Qingtong used Xiong Qi's 100 changes to conceal her aura and temperament. She also weakened her appearance, but she didn't change her facial features. Therefore, the elder from the Qing clan was able to see through her real age at a glance. He immediately felt disdain in his heart. He was just a brat who was still wet behind the ears. He actually came to stand up for someone else. He had seen too many of such hotheads. That Qing family elder didn't put Luo Qingtong in his eyes at all. What he didn't know was that this ordinary youth that he looked down on was actually the evil Dr. Ghost Eye that they hated so much that they gnashed their teeth in anger but couldn't afford to offend. Not only that, his opponent was a peak martial emperor who could instantly kill him. His disdain and arrogance made him look like a clown, which made people laugh. Really? I wonder what a person who can't even compare to a Tom, Dick, or Harry. Luo Qingtong didn't get angry when she heard the words of that Qing family elder. She used her gaze to suppress the anger in Su Yu and the others' hearts. She looked at that Qing family elder indifferently, and the smile on her lips was wanton and mocking. That elder from the Qing clan instantly recalled the match he had just lost to the other party. Not only did he not manage to deal with Su Yu and the others, but he also lost a Qing family disciple. Chapter 1187. Fine. I'll play with you. The Qing family elder looked coldly at Luo Qingtong. However, Su Yu, the winner of the one battle is still the two of us. It's not impossible if you want this kid to play for you. We'll raise the stakes. The Qing family elder sneered and said, the life and death battle is not supposed to injure the participants. But today, I want to change the way we play. Your Su family is going to fight against our Qing family. If the people on the stage are injured, the people participating in the one battle below the stage will also be injured. How about it? Do you dare to bet? The Qing family elder sneered as he looked at Luo Qingtong and Su Yu beside her. He originally wanted to make this request, but he wanted to make Su Yu sad and feel despair before making the request. He didn't expect this kid called Yi Jiu to suddenly appear and win this round for Su Yu. However, they wouldn't be so lucky in the next round. The Qing family elder's expression was cold, but Su Yu and Luo Qingtong's expressions were indifferent. I agree. Su Yu said without hesitation. She believed in her master. Good. The Qing family elder sneered and replied. However, at this moment, Luo Qingtong's voice sounded. Wait, the youth's voice sounded, and the Qing family elder sneered and looked at her. What? Are you afraid? Since you're afraid, then get lost. This isn't a place for children to play games. The Qing family elder said with disdain. His target wasn't Luo Qingtong, but the other party who deliberately came out to stir up trouble. After dealing with Su Yu and the others, he would slowly deal with this kid. No, elder of Qing clan, you misunderstood me. Luo Qingtong said as she slowly got up from her seat and leaned forward. With her hands crossed in front of her body, she raised her head and looked at the elder of Qing clan with a sneer. What I'm trying to say is that it's just the two of you. What kind of bet is that? Luo Qingtong smiled and looked at the members of the Qing family. If you want to play, then play big. Look at how badly the people on the stage are injured. Everyone on the other side must be injured like that. How is it? She looked at him with a smile. Do you people from the Qing clan dare to bet with me? Luo Qingtong deliberately emphasized the word everyone. As long as that elder of the Qing clan agreed, not only the members of the Qing clan in the far west wilderness, but also the members of the Qing clan in the rising sun nation would not be able to escape. Luo Qingtong didn't want to get involved in the matter between the Qing family and Su Yu. After all, this was Su Yu's personal grudge. She should take revenge with her own hands. However, the members of the Qing clan had obviously crossed her bottom line this time. Luo Qingtong didn't want to keep them alive anymore. She wouldn't let anyone from the Qing clan off. Fine. The elder of Qing clan sneered at Luo Qingtong. He didn't understand the meaning behind Luo Qingtong's words. However, even if he did, he didn't care. In his opinion, Luo Qingtong couldn't possibly win against him. Betting everyone as a bet would only make the members of Heavenly Diabolism die more miserably. He originally wanted to humiliate Su Yu, and then kill all the people of Heavenly Diabolism here. This elder of Qing clan wasn't stupid enough to let Su Yu and the others go back after humiliating them. He would let them tell Blackfield and evil Dr. Ghost Eye and then take revenge on the Qing clan. Chapter 1188. Su Yu, what do you say? He looked at Su Yu sinisterly. The latter nodded without hesitation. Just do as he says. Whatever master says, they will do. Su Yu believed that Luo Qingtong wouldn't lose. Even if Luo Qingtong really asked them to die, she wouldn't even blink. Not to mention the people from the Luo family's iron army behind her. They swore to follow Luo Qingtong's orders for life. Never question. This was one of the essential qualities of a soldier. Good. Since none of you have any objections, then let's begin. The sneer in the eyes of Elder Tian from the Qing family became even colder. Su Yu and the others were really grabbing onto a random person as a life-saving straw. Did they really think that this Yi Jiu could help them win these literary battles just because he had some ability? Idiot. Since he dared to make such a request and let Su Yu fight with him, of course, he came prepared. He wanted to humiliate Su Yu to death and let her see with her own eyes how the Su family members died one by one in her hands. He had been careless previously and allowed Yi Jiu to take advantage of him. The other party's combat experience was indeed extremely rich. It was really good to have such keen combat instincts at such a young age. But if Su Yu and the others thought that they could win by relying on him, then they were gravely mistaken. Because, opening heaven's eyes. The Qing family elder looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong and the others and sneered as he raised his hand to wipe his eyes. In an instant, there seemed to be a ball of energy revolving in his eyes, forming the appearance of an eye within an eye. It was a new unique skill that the elder from the Qing clan had obtained. It could force one's energy into his eyes, allowing his eyes to see through the opponent's moves in a short period of time and predict what the opponent's next move would be. Ever since the Qing family elder obtained this unique skill, he had experimented with it several times in private. He found that this opening heaven's eyes was indeed miraculous. The only drawback was that it consumed too much strength, and it could only see one movement of the opponent clearly. After the Qing clan elder made his move, the surrounding people instantly noticed the change in his eyes, and they immediately cried out in alarm. Look! That's the eye of a Qing clan elder. Looks like it's a very powerful unique martial art. The Qing clan sent the Heavenly Diabolism's people to participate in this one duel. Obviously, they are well prepared. I knew it. The Qing family has the upper hand, so why are they fighting with the Heavenly Diabolism? They even said that they will let one person go if they win one round. So he was just toying with them. Yes. It seemed like the Qing clan was determined to deal with Tian Xie's people. It was estimated that none of these Su family members would survive. All of you will die on the literary battle stage. What are you talking about? Don't forget that the Heavenly Diabolism's people have promised the Qing family that they will be as injured as the people on the stage. I think they're finished. Yes. Sigh. It was also proposed by Yi Jiu who just came. Otherwise, Su Yu would suffer at most. Great, the entire Heavenly Diabolism's people are going to be in big trouble. Yes. A group of people shook their heads and sighed. The Heavenly Diabolism's people are also unlucky. They originally wanted to win the one duel with Yi Jiu's strength. Chapter 1189. That's right. That Yi Jiu is too arrogant. Now, he and the Heavenly Diabolism are going to be in trouble. A group of people were talking at once. Many people looked at the Heavenly Diabolism sympathetically. Among these people, many were familiar with Su Yu and the rest. They had even worked together before. They admired Su Yu and the rest's character. But this time, the Qing family had invited the elder from the southern region to oversee the situation. No one dared to help them. When they saw that the heavenly diabolism was going to lose, they sighed and felt pity in their hearts. When those people of Qing family saw the elders' action, they immediately laughed complacently. They were all aware of the Qing clan's elders' hidden trump card. The other party had been hiding until now, just to give the Su family a critical blow at this moment. They looked at the direction of Luo Qingtong and the rest with a complacent expression, waiting to see the despair on Su Yu and the rest's faces. However, Su Yu and the rest's faces didn't change at all. They sat calmly beside Luo Qingtong and didn't have any doubts or uneasiness. They wouldn't regret their master's order even if they had to die. Moreover, how could these people understand their master's ability? Su Yu and the rest's faces were as calm as a mountain. Luo Qingtong chuckled and looked at the elder's eyes meaningfully. Forcing the breath in one's body into one's eyes to form a new pupil within the pupil, which can temporarily see through the opponent's actions. Luo Qingtong's eyes curved slightly. Interesting. She murmured softly. Then she raised her voice and looked at the elder of the Qing family. Since you're ready, let's start. She originally thought that there was no suspense in this battle of words. She didn't expect the opponent to have such a trump card. This ignited a lot of interest in Luo Qingtong. She would fight with this opening heaven's eye. As Luo Qingtong spoke, the blood-red vortex in her eyes suddenly began to spin. Bring him here. The Qing clan elder sneered and waved his hand. In the face of Luo Qingtong's calmness, he and the other members of the Qing clan took it as a bluff and forced themselves to remain calm. When the Su family's people died one by one in their hands, let's see how those people from the heavenly evil faction would be able to maintain their calm. Humph. He wanted those people from the Su clan to be turned into human rods. At that time, the heavenly diabolism's people would also end up like this. As the elder of the Qing family waved his hand, a general of the Su family and a disciple of the Qing family appeared in Wendo's room. This time, the disciples sent by the Qing clan were all tall and sturdy, and it was obvious that they were experts in brute force. This disciple of the Qing clan might not be very strong, but in terms of physical strength, he was the strongest among the Qing clan's disciples. His figure was like an iron tower as he walked into Wendo's room. His footsteps made thumping sounds on the ground. Among the people from the Su family, the one who was led out was the thinnest one. Not only that, his age was also relatively old. His figure staggered a little as he walked out. Uncle. Seeing the figure of the Su family's general, Su Yu's palm clenched tightly. The people from the Qing clan were too shameless. Chapter 1190. The heavenly diabolism was bound to lose. This was an unfair fight to begin with. Moreover, it was obvious that the elder from the Qing clan had cultivated a technique that could help him win the one battle. The heavenly diabolism had no chance of winning at all. That young man called Yi Zhou, no matter how powerful his combat experience was or how sharp his combat instincts were, could he be compared to the Qing clan elder who had opened his heaven's eye? Sigh. The Su clan was bound to lose. Everyone sighed inexplicably in their hearts. Luo Qingtong had already received the special Dharma weapon from Su Yu that could participate in the one battle. She was rather surprised to find that the refining of this Dharma weapon was not ordinary. It seemed that the background of the dark colors arena was not small. Luo Qingtong looked at this special Dharma weapon that was obviously not refined by an ordinary weapon refiner and put it on her finger. In an instant, she felt that the Su clan's general in the one duel room was already under her control. Ha! Kid, since you're ready, then come. That Su clan elder laughed sharply and then fiercely controlled the Qing clan disciple who was as strong as an iron tower to launch an attack. Bang bang bang. The two of them fought in the one battle room. Although it was the Su clan general and the Qing clan disciple who were fighting inside. But the real battle was between Luo Qingtong and the Qing clan elder's consciousness. Both of them controlled their own people and launched attacks on each other. For a moment, the entire battle room was filled with muffled sounds of fists. The two people who were being controlled were carrying out the most primitive battle. Under the control of the Qing family's elder, the sturdy Qing family's disciple kept launching attacks. And that Su clan general, under the control of Luo Qingtong, was only constantly defending. The surrounding people saw this and shook their heads constantly. The difference in physical quality of both sides is too great. Although this Yi Jiu is considered smart and knows how to defend and wait for the opportunity to attack, but that Qing clan disciple's attacks are too fierce and that Su clan general's body is too weak. How could a body that had been abused and hollowed out withstand so many attacks? Even if he only suffered a little damage at a time, the accumulation was enough to cause the Su family's general to suffer great damage. Who knew when his body would reach a critical point? Then, when the next attack came, he couldn't take it anymore. And he was sent flying. However, while all of them were thinking like this, they didn't know that the heart of that disciple from the Qing clan was filled with astonishment after every single attack. His fists seemed to land on the Su clan's general every time. But, in reality, he hadn't hit anything. Every time the Su family's general retreated to defend, it was actually when his attack range was exhausted. It looked like it had blocked his attack, but in fact, when his attack reached that point, it no longer had any attacking power. He didn't even touch or injure the other party. Terrifying. It was too terrifying. What kind of precise calculation and attack prediction was this, to be able to defend at such a precise point every time? The other party hadn't been attacked at all. Granduncle, you mustn't be fooled. Chapter 1191. This Qing clan disciple had no way of telling the Qing clan's elder what he felt when he attacked. It was just like how when they were attacked, the person controlling them would not be able to feel the damage at all. The disciple of the Qing clan was terrified to the extreme. But the Qing clan's elder was completely unaware. Boom! After another heavy punch, the Su clan's general seemed to be unable to bear it. He staggered back a step as if he was about to be blown away. Seeing this scene, the Qing clan's elder suddenly laughed out loud. Finally unable to bear it, right? Die! He was very proud in his heart. He thought that Yi Jiu was very powerful. In the end, he didn't even use open heaven's eyes. The opponent couldn't hold on. That's right, the Su clan's generals were so weak. This time, the one he chose was the weakest among them. Against the strongest disciple on their side, there was no suspense at all. The Qing family's elder laughed and controlled the Qing family's child to jump up high in an instant. The child rushed towards the Su family's high-ranking officer who was about to be sent flying. He directly punched towards the Su clan's general's left arm. He wanted to break his opponent's arms and legs one by one and turn him into a human stick before killing him. The Qing clan's elder had a sinister smile on his face. On the other hand, the face of the Qing clan's disciple under his control was twisted in extreme horror. This was because he clearly saw that the Su clan's general, who seemed to have been beaten back and was about to fly out, had a smile on his face. It was a relaxed, relieved, and comfortable smile. On Tian Xie's side, Luo Qingtong's lips were also slightly hooked up. Boom! Her mind moved fiercely, and in an instant, the Su clan's general attacked. Just as the Qing clan disciple leaped high into the air and charged at him, the Qing clan disciple leaped high into the air. The opponent's center was wide open. Luo Qingtong controlled the Su clan's general and rushed towards the Qing clan disciple. Bang! She directly let the opponent kick her. As for the Qing family's elder, he noticed that something was amiss when the Su family's general moved. He hurriedly controlled the Qing family disciple to dodge. However, the latter was in mid-air and was a natural target. How could he dodge the attack of the Su family's general? Left with no other choice, the elder of the Qing clan had to activate his heaven's eye. In an instant, he saw through the landing point of the kick from the Su clan's general. He immediately forced the Qing clan's disciple to twist his body, avoiding the kick from the Su clan's general. However, before he could reveal a smug smile on his face, the next second. Bang! Just as he controlled the Qing family's disciple to turn around, Luo Qingtong seemed to have seen through his intentions. She directly changed the direction of her leg and blocked the Qing family's disciple's path. It was as if that kick had been waiting for him all along. Boom! Luo Qingtong's lips curled into a smile. In the next second, she controlled the foot of the Su clan's general to sweep fiercely. In an instant, the sound of bones cracking could be heard. Chapter 1192. A large part of his chest had caved in. His entire back was bent out of shape. Obviously, the kick that Luo Qingtong used on the Su family's general had broken all his ribs. Not only that, those broken ribs had pierced into his body. It didn't break out of his back because the body of the Su family's general was too weak. The strength that he could exert wasn't that strong. Otherwise, this kick was enough to kick this Qing family's disciple to death. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. She controlled the Su family's general to walk in front of the Qing family's disciple who was screaming and rolling on the ground. With one kick, she crushed all his limbs. How could Luo Qingtong not know what the Qing family's elder wanted to do? He wanted to turn the Su family's people and Tian Xie's people into sticks. She would help the Qing family's people. Luo Qingtong controlled the Su family's general's movements and slowly crushed the Qing family's disciples' limbs. If she didn't see wrongly, when he first entered this Wendual room, the Qing family's disciples' eyes were very excited and bloodthirsty, right? He must have spent a lot of energy and effort to snatch this opportunity from the Qing family's people, right? How could she let it go to waste? Luo Qingtong felt that it was necessary to let the other party stay in this Wendual room a little longer, so that the people outside could better appreciate the things that he wanted to do to the Su family's people. But in the end, it was retribution that fell on him. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. In the Wendual room, the Qing family's disciples screamed miserably. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly as she looked at the Qing family's people who were already pale beyond compare. How is this possible? The Qing family's elder looked at Luo Qingtong in disbelief. He didn't know how the other party saw through his actions in the end. He had clearly used open heaven's eyes. Logically speaking, he should have avoided the opponent's attack. However, Luo Qingtong controlled the kick of the Su family's general. It was as if she was deliberately waiting for him when he controlled the Qing family's disciple to twist his body. What was going on? That Qing clan elder's eyes were filled with disbelief. He could not figure it out no matter how hard he tried. What they didn't know was that he had indeed seen through the kick of the Su clan's general and had successfully avoided it. However, Luo Qingtong also saw through his dodging action. He could rely on his open heaven's eye to see through Luo Qingtong's control over the Su family's general. However, Luo Qingtong was able to see through every action of the Qing family's disciple under his control. Luo Qingtong's pupil technique was simply a cheat-like existence in a situation where she couldn't use any power to protect her body and couldn't use any cultivation base. An invincible killing machine. The Qing clan elders' heaven's eye opening couldn't compare at all. Come. Let's continue. Luo Qingtong controlled the Su family's general and kicked the Qing family's disciple who was crushed like mud out of the Wendual room. Chapter 1193. In the eyes of the Qing family, the young man's smile was a forced calmness and a bluff. But now, they realized that he simply didn't put them in his eyes at all. Who was this person? Where did he come from? How could he have such a terrifying combat ability and combat experience? Even the Qing family elder couldn't defeat him even after using Heaven's Eye. The Qing family elders looked at the smile on Luo Qingtong's face and shuddered in their hearts. All of a sudden, they had a feeling. That was, agreeing to this bet, maybe it wasn't the heavenly diabolism's tragedy and mistake. It was theirs. They were gravely mistaken. The group of people looked at Luo Qingtong with stiff faces and terrified hearts. The surrounding people were also shocked and regretful, those people who just said that Luo Qingtong was bound to lose and that the heavenly diabolism people were unlucky were now staring at the scene in the room with wide eyes. Oh my God! The crowd didn't know how Luo Qingtong did it. He was obviously the weakest general of the Su family who had been abused and had no strength left. He actually won against the Qing family's tall and strong disciple. Looking at the Qing family's disciple who had been tortured until he didn't even look human anymore, the crowd fell into a deep silence in shock. They suspected that the elder of the Qing clan was too careless and didn't use his unique martial art. But looking at the shocked and horrified faces of the Qing family elders, their faces turned ashen. They were speechless for a moment. The Qing family elders weren't that stupid. They had been slapped in the face before and now they were slapped again. Therefore, the elder from the Qing clan had actually used the pupil of eyes in his eyes, but he was still defeated by his opponent in the end. This Yi Zhou, how strong was his combat acuity and intuition? Combat experience, how rich was he? What kind of great power was this genius youth that came out to play? Even if he was a superpower in the 4 regions of the true Spill continent, he would definitely be a peerless genius who was carefully cultivated and cared for. While the crowd was shocked, Luo Qingtong had already brought the Su family's general out of the room. She asked the heavenly diabolism people to settle him down and then looked at the Qing family elder who had a pale face. Qing family elder, let's continue. She chuckled and tapped her index finger on the table in front of her. As long as your Qing family people can win this round, we will raise the stakes and consider it our loss. How about it? Luo Qingtong's words was a provocation and contempt. She was returning all the disdain and contempt that the Qing family had shown to the Tianxia people just now. How dare they attack her people? Today, she would show these people from the Qing family what despair was. What is you? The veins on the Qing family's elder's forehead were bulging from Luo Qingtong's words. The people of the Qing clan behind him also wore terrified and embarrassed looks on their faces. Luo Qingtong said such words in an absolutely crushing manner. This was the biggest slap to the Qing family's face. In the end, it was as if he was the one who had taken the brunt of his opponent's attack. It was as if his predictions had been completely seen through by the other. How could there be such a terrifying person in this world? Luo Qingtong manipulated the actions of the Su family's high-ranking military officer like moving clouds and flowing water. It was as if all of his actions were in front of the other party, without any concealment at all. The other party could do whatever they wanted to him. Chapter 1195. Every time he attacked, he felt as if he was stuck on a spider's web, unable to exert his strength. The elder from the Qing family almost vomited blood when he thought about it. How is this possible? How did things turn out like this? He looked at Luo Qingtong in disbelief. He did not know how she could see through his prediction of opening heaven's eye and react in time. Could it be that she was really a genius with superb combat awareness? Other than this, there was no other explanation for her actions. The elder of the Qing clan felt that it was indescribable. Luo Qingtong's movements were still elegant and slow. Just like in the previous round, she crushed the limbs of the Qing family's disciple and kicked him out of the Wenduel room. Come on. Luo Qingtong smiled as she looked at the people from the Qing family whose faces had turned green. The elders from the Qing family looked terrible. At this moment, they could see that. The elder from the Qing family's opening heaven's eye was not very useful against Luo Qingtong. Even if he used opening heaven's eye, he could not defeat Luo Qingtong. This realization made the faces of the people from the Qing family turn green instantly. However, the elder from the Qing family was still unwilling to accept the reality. "Let's continue." He gritted his teeth and shouted angrily. Then, they continued to the next round. However, the speed of this match was even faster. Bang! The disciple from the Qing family who was controlled by him was sent flying out and suffered the same fate as the other disciples from the Qing family. At this moment, the other disciples from the Qing family felt a chill in their hearts when they saw this scene. They wanted to retreat, however, when they thought of Luo Qingtong and the elder from the Qing family who raised the stakes, they felt extremely hopeless. Even if they retreated, if they lost the Wen duel, they would still end up being turned into human sticks. At this moment, the people from the Qing family started to regret. What did it mean to lift a rock only to drop it on one's own foot? What did it mean to fail in acting tough and get slapped in the face? What did it mean to go for wool and come home shorn? They wanted to use this battle to deal with Tian Xia's people, but they didn't expect that they would be slapped in the face. Moreover, he was the one who went up to be beaten up. The whole place was silent. Everyone watched as the members of the Qing clan turned from arrogant to embarrassed. His mouth was wide open and he couldn't close it. Bang! 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 Luo Qingtong won one match after another. In the end, almost all the people of the Su clan were won over by her. Boom! In the last match, the Qing clan's disciple controlled by the Qing clan's elder was ruthlessly smashed into the ground by the Su clan's general controlled by Luo Qingtong. At the same time, awe! In the direction of the Qing family, the elder of the Qing family suddenly screamed. He covered his eyes and rolled around violently. Dark red blood flowed out from the gaps between his fingers covering his eyes. It was because he had used open heaven's eyes too much in the literary battles and had directly exploded his own eyes. The shrill voice of the elder from the Qing family and the disciple from the Qing family in the Wen duel room rang out one after another. When everyone heard this, they felt a chill in their hearts. Chapter 1196. With such a terrifying fighting ability, no matter how weak the opponent was, he had the ability to challenge those of a higher level. And as he grew stronger, this ability to challenge those of a higher level would be even more terrifying. Because on the path of martial arts, the higher the level, the greater the disparity in strength. It was almost impossible to cross. However, Luo Qingtong could rely on her ability to challenge those of a higher level to reduce this disparity. Even if her strength was not enough, she could still fight against those of a higher level. In the eyes of other warriors, this was very inconceivable and terrifying. Just as everyone was looking at Luo Qingtong in shock, she slowly stood up and looked at the frightened members of the Qing family and said, "All right. The Wen battle is over. You should also carry out your bets." As Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, the surrounding people remembered that not only did the Qing family bet on the Wen battle with the people of the heavenly diabolism, but they also added bets. And the content of the bets, they looked at the people of the Qing family and saw that their faces were pale. They looked at Luo Qingtong and the others with fear in their eyes. At this moment, the screaming elder of the Qing family suddenly grabbed a disciple of the Qing family and stood up. He angrily shouted at Luo Qingtong and the others, "Little bastards, don't think that you can deal with us like this. So what if you won the Wen battle? Today, none of you from the heavenly diabolism can leave the dark arena." The elder of the Qing family had a ferocious expression. His eyes had become two bloody holes, which made him look very scary. The veins on the Qing family elder's forehead bulged as he raised his head abruptly and shouted towards a certain room on the second floor, "Elder Pan. Please make your move. Fight against the people of the heavenly diabolism. According to the agreement we had before. All the profits of the Qing family in the far west wilderness these years will belong to you." The voice of the elder of the Qing family sounded. Everyone immediately looked up at the room on the second floor. Everyone remembered that the people of the Qing family had something to rely on to deal with the people of the heavenly diabolism. The Wen battle was just a way to humiliate the opponent. Although they lost, as long as the elder of the southern region sect was there to support them, the people of the Qing family would be fine. In fact, the people of the heavenly diabolism would be in trouble. After all, the elder of the southern region's sect. Not only was his own strength, but his sect was also very powerful in the far west wilderness. Hearing the words of the Qing family's elder, Siyu and the others had a slight change in expression. Master, Siyu stepped forward and wanted to say something, but was stopped by Luo Qingtong. It's nothing. Luo Qingtong was elder of the heavenly diabolism of the southern region's sect. In the private room on the second floor, after hearing the words of the Qing family's elder, a figure immediately rushed out from the room. It was an old man who looked very short and small, like a dwarf. He jumped out of the private room on the second floor and looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong and the others. Chapter 1197. The old man looked shrewd and wretched. He glanced at Luo Qingtong and waved his sleeve. What? The elder of the Qing clan was still waiting for Elder Pan to vent his anger for them. When he heard Elder Pan's words, he immediately shouted, Elder Pan, didn't we agree on this? You will help us get rid of the heavenly diabolism and we will reward you. The elder from the Qing family did not expect Elder Pan to ask the heavenly diabolism to scram. Did this mean that they could not avenge themselves? More importantly, once the heavenly diabolism left, they would tell Blackfield and evil Dr. Ghost Eye about this. The Qing family would be finished in the Sunrise Country. The elder from the Qing family became anxious at the thought of this. Humph. As soon as he spoke, Elder Pan from the Southern Domain sect let out a cold harumph. He raised his hand and a gust of wind shot out. In an instant, the elder from the Qing clan, who had just crawled up from the ground, was sent flying again. Do I need you to tell me what to do? Elder Pan from the southern region sneered at the elder from the Qing family and said, I did agree to help you get rid of the heavenly diabolism. However, that was based on the fact that you won. Now, what kind of battle is this? You've lost your lives to others. I've saved your lives, so I'm already worthy of this reward. Do you still want me to deal with the heavenly diabolism? Elder Pan coldly snorted. In fact, he felt that Luo Qingtong's ability was extraordinary. She might be a genius disciple secretly groomed by some big faction and went out to gain experience. In addition, the man's ordinary face gave him an inexplicable sense of familiarity. This Elder Pan felt that it was better for him to be a little more cautious. It would be better if he just chased them away. He should not go too far with her. With this thought, he waved his hand and said, All right, you heavenly diabolism scram. Otherwise, I will change my mind. Elder Pan. The elder from the Qing clan was anxious. He didn't care about the blood on his head and his sorry figure as he hurriedly said, Elder Pan, you can't. Please make a move. We, the Qing family, are willing to pay twice as much. Humph. I'm not in a good mood today, so I'm not going to fight anymore. If your Qing clan wants to deal with them, do it yourself. Elder Pan looked at Luo Qingtong and the others and said, What? Why aren't you guys scramming? If you don't scram, I'm going to attack. Elder Pan said. He didn't want to go too far with the other party. But if the other party insisted on not leaving, then for the sake of his own face, he would have to make a move against the other party. Just as Elder Pan's words rang out, Yu Xing Qi's crisp voice sounded from outside the door. Really? How impressive and domineering. May I know which part of the southern domain you're from, and which sect's elder? Tell me your name so that my brother and I can see who is so powerful that he dares to treat my sister like this. Brother Joe, you're being rude. Chapter 1198. Yu Xingqi had been left outside by Luo Qingtong to wait for Yu Sihuang. Now that the latter had come back from teaching people a lesson, they all stepped into the hall together. Seeing Luo Qingtong and the other Qing family members confronting each other, Yu Sihuang slightly knit his brows. He didn't think that Luo Qingtong needed to spend too much energy to deal with a small upper-class country's aristocratic family. So, there was a variable in this. His eyes swept around and immediately saw Elder Pan, who was standing in front of the Qing family members but was completely ignored by him because of his height. King. That Elder Pan, when Yu Sihuang and Yu Xingqi walked into the hall together, his eyes had already popped out. My mother. This was the king of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands, the sect master of the imperial sect. If it wasn't for Yu Sihuang's iconic evildoer face that didn't change and Yu Xingqi, this little devil girl by his side, Elder Pan would have thought that he had recognized the wrong person. How did King become like this? Elder Pan's eyes widened as he looked at Yu Sihuang's head full of vermilion hairpins and cloud hair, swaying as he walked, captivating the soul. My mother. Elder Pan looked at everyone's stunned eyes staring at Yu Sihuang's body and didn't know what to say. King. What kind of stimulation did you receive? Sect Master. Have you ever thought that as the head of the 3 islands and 7 lands, the sect master of the imperial sect, this hobby of dressing up as a woman and walking in front of people is very inappropriate? Elder Pan's eyes popped out. The elder of the Qing clan shouted loudly as if he had caught hold of something that could be used against him. Elder Pan, they are in cahoots with that Yi Zhou. They are deliberately looking down on you. Speaking up to hear, he let out a long breath. Being despised and looked down on like this Elder Pan should want to make a move and kill all of Tianxia's people, right? Ha ha. That Yi Zhou's 2 friends were really their Qing family's god helpers. Originally, Elder Pan was already prepared to not care about their Qing family and Tianxia's matters. Now that the 2 of them had appeared and said such words, how could Elder Pan possibly spare them? Not to mention the contempt in their words towards Elder Pan and the southern region sect behind him. That Qing family elder was proud in his heart, and sneered at Yu Xingqi and Yu Sihuang. You 2 women, what do you know? This is an elder of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands shocking heaven gate. Among the 3 islands and 7 lands, the shocking sky sect strength is one of the best. Elder Pan is the person in charge of the startling sky sect's forces in the western wastelands. His strength and prestige in the startling sky sect is extremely high. How dare you disrespect Elder Pan? You must be tired of living. That Qing clan elder's face was filled with arrogance and disdain. What he didn't know was that Elder Pan's heart was about to collapse when he heard his words. That wretched and shrewd old face was completely green, black, and green. Bang! Without waiting for Yu Sihuang and Yu Xingqi to say anything, that Elder Pan had already rushed in front of them, and fiercely slapped that Qing family elder's face. Boom boom boom. A burst of explosive sounds. That Qing clan elder was instantly sent spinning on the spot by Elder Pan's slap. Then he was fiercely sent flying. Chapter 1199. At the sight of such a scene, all the other members of Qing clan who were echoing the words of that elder were dumbfounded. What was going on? Did that Elder Pan make a mistake? Even if he wanted to flip out, he should be targeting Tianxia and Yi Zhou. Why would he make a move against their Qing family elders? The Qing family members were at a loss as they looked at Elder Pan, who suddenly flipped out. The latter fiercely slapped the Qing family elder and sent him flying. After not knowing if he was dead or alive, he quickly lowered his head and said to Luo Qingtong and the others, "I'm sorry, Master Zhou. This time I had eyes but couldn't see. Please don't lower yourself to my level." These Qing family people, I'll immediately take care of them for you. As for the things they gave me, I'll give them all to Tian Xia as an apology for offending you this time. Cold sweat broke out on Elder Pan's forehead. He was really going to be killed by the Qing family. They dared to call the king a woman. They even said they knew something. That was fine. They even boasted about him and the shocking heaven sect in front of the other party. If it was the previous Yu Huang, it would be fine. Although the imperial sect had a large influence in the 3 islands and 7 lands, Yu Huang was suffering from a heart disease. He wanted to unify the 3 islands and 7 lands, but he was powerless. He was almost killed by the Silver Sword people. But it was different now. The Silver Sword people couldn't kill Yu Huang and instead allowed the latter to obtain an opportunity. His heart disease was cured and he came back to destroy the Silver Sword. The entire 3 islands and 7 lands were now under Yu Huang's control. The other party's strength was also constantly increasing. In this kind of situation, the Qing family people actually boasted about how strong the shocking heaven sect was in front of the king of the southern mountain range. This was simply trying to kill them. Elder Pan hated that he couldn't just choke the Qing family people to death. They caused him to go against the sect master. He couldn't kill them. Elder Pan's face was filled with killing intent. He didn't dare plead for mercy to Yu Huang. The latter was still dressed as a woman. If the latter's identity was exposed, there was no need for him to beg for mercy. He could just wait for death with the entire shocking heaven sect. Therefore, he could only place his hopes on Luo Qintong. It could be seen that Yu Huang and Yu Xingqi attached great importance to this Yizhou. And just now, Yu Xingqi opened his mouth to support Luo Qintong. With this thought in mind, he lowered his posture in front of Luo Qintong. Looking at this scene, the whole place fell silent. The onlookers didn't expect things to turn out this way. Who exactly was this Yizhou? To actually cause this Elder Pan of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands heaven shocking sect to lower his head respectfully. While everyone was secretly guessing and shocked, Luo Qingtong looked indifferently at Elder Pan. Since you didn't make a move this time, I'll let this go. You've dealt with these Qing family people. The Qing family's influence in the western wilderness, not a single one will be left. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. That Elder Pan hurriedly complied. His gaze glanced at Yu Xingqi and Yu Huang. Seeing that they didn't have any objections, he immediately rejoiced that he made the right bet. This Yizhou was indeed able to influence their decision. Chapter 1200. The faces of the Qing family members were extremely ugly. They did not know what was going on. Wasn't Elder Pan the backer that the Qing clan had invited? The other side had clearly agreed to the Qing family's conditions and wanted to make a move against Tian Xia. Not only did he not make a move, he even wanted to destroy their Qing family. Everyone's faces turned pale. A core disciple of the Qing family quickly said, "Elder Pan, don't forget, you accepted that buy." Before he could finish his words, Elder Pan had already waved his hand fiercely, chopping off his head. Humph! Kill! Everyone from the Qing family, don't leave a single one alive. Elder Pan's face was cold. The deal between him and the Qing family was indeed because of someone pulling the strings. That person was the Bai family's young master from Savage City in the western desolate region, Bai Jintang. But that was in the past. Moreover, he did not know that Tian Xia had a relationship with Yu Huang at that time. With Yu Huang here, not to mention the Bai family's young master, even if the entire Bai family was here, he would not be able to go against Tian Xia. The Qing family actually wanted to use Bai Jintang to pressure him. Instantly, the killing intent in Elder Pan's heart became even stronger. He directly waved his hand. Immediately, in the private room on the second floor, the trusted subordinates of the shocking heaven sect that followed him jumped down and began to massacre the Qing family members. The original backer had turned into a death god, the Qing family members could not react in time and all of them died under the hands of the shocking heaven sect. They cried out and begged for mercy, but Su Yu and the others did not even care about them. How the Qing family treated them before was still vivid in their minds. Not to mention the miserable state of the Su family's generals in front of them. The Qing family members all deserved to die. If it wasn't for Luo Qingtong coming this time, Su Yu and the others would be controlled by others. Adding in the presence of Elder Pan and the shocking heaven sect, who knew how many losses Tian Xia would have suffered. Perhaps the entire Tian Xia would have died here. In this kind of situation, how could Su Yu and the others spare the Qing family members? Since the other side wanted to deal with them before, then they would have to properly taste this bitter fruit. Let's go. Luo Qingtong's face was calm. She brought Su Yu and the others out of the dark arena. Yu Huang and Yu Xingqi followed by her side. As they walked out of the hall. Just then, an elder in a dark arena uniform chased up from behind and called Luo Qingtong, "Mr. Yi Jiu Yi, please wait a moment. Your humble servant is the manager of the Dark Colors Arena." Yi Jiu Yi Jiu Yi 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 Jiu Jiu Yi 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 Yi. Foreign dignitary. Luo Qingtong raised her brows and looked at him. Yes. The deacon of the Dark Colosseum smiled and said, "Our Dark Colosseum likes to invite experts from all walks of life to become our guest elders. If you become a guest elder of our Dark Color Arena, young Master Yi will not be restricted in any way. On the contrary, if you become a guest elder of our Dark Color Arena, you can enjoy VIP treatment in our Dark Color Arena." As the Lord of the Southern Region's 3 islands and 7 lands, he would definitely know more about these matters than he did of SSSA's words. SSS. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. If the dark color was really related to the hidden world, then there was absolutely no harm in becoming a guest. Luo Qingtong did not forget that she had to go to the hidden world to find news about her father and mother. Not to mention that her mother was from the outside world, she might not necessarily go to the hidden world. But her father, as a person from the true Spill continent, would definitely go to the hidden world to find her. Chapter 1202. Luo Qingtong thought so and immediately said to the deacon of the dark-colored arena, "Okay." As she spoke, she raised her hand and took the guest elder token from the deacon. The latter also had a face full of confidence and didn't think that Luo Qingtong would refuse their request. When he explained to Luo Qingtong, the guest official token was already prepared. When Luo Qingtong agreed, he directly handed it over. Luo Qingtong looked at the 2 words Yi Jiu engraved on it and smiled slightly. You dark-colored arena people are really confident. Even the token was made on the spot. They weren't afraid that she wouldn't agree. We dark-colored arena people believe in our strength. Of course, we also believe in your choice. It won't be wrong. The deacon of the dark-colored arena said with a smile. Guest official Yi, take care. He said, slightly bowed to Luo Qingtong and then retreated. Looking at his back, Luo Qingtong's heart was somewhat pensive. It seemed that the dark-colored arena people attached great importance to the Wen duel. They invited so many guest chamberlains to the hidden world to compete. It was likely that there were some benefits involved in this. But this had nothing to do with Luo Qingtong for the time being. According to what Yu Huang said, the last guest official Wen duel just ended not long ago. Even if the dark-colored people wanted to invite people to the Wen duel, it would take at least half a year. Luo Qingtong thought so and immediately put away the dark-colored guest official token in her hand. Tong tong, Yu Huang swayed his hair and walked in front of Luo Qingtong. Just as he was about to say something, the young man smiled and used the sword hilt to press against the weak spot on his waist. Don't call me that disgusting. What Tong Tong? Luo Qingtong only felt goosebumps rising. Yi Qianxian didn't call her that. This Yu Siwang could also do it. Luo Qingtong looked at his body swaying gracefully and amorous appearance and her lips twitched. She suddenly had a very strong feeling, and that was, agreeing with Yu Siwang to travel with her, was definitely a very big mistake. Especially for her. Annoying. Isn't this showing off my daughter's delicate appearance? Otherwise, why would I dress up like this? Yu Siwang threw the handkerchief in his hand at her with a coquettish face. He had a sad face before, thinking that his sister's idea of him dressing up as a woman was too deceitful. It destroyed his image as the future overlord of the 3 islands and 7 lands. But now looking at Luo Qingtong's reaction, he suddenly felt that this idea wasn't bad. At least compared to when he and Luo Qingtong first met, the other person's face was not so cold and her face was Face's face. Yu Siwang prepared to continue to try and get closer to her. It was rare that Yi Qianxian, that demon god, wasn't here, so he naturally wanted to seize this opportunity. Thinking like this, he suddenly looked at Luo Qingtong with a bitter face and said, "Tong Tong, you're too much. You're simply throwing me away after using me. You heartless man. I even helped you just now." Naturally, Yu Siwang was talking about Elder Pan. Originally, he was still considering whether to kill the other person to silence him. Who let the other person see his current appearance and know his identity? But that Elder Pan was smart, directly sticking to Luo Qingtong. The latter said to spare his life, so Yu Siwang didn't care. After the other person felt his murderous aura, he didn't dare to go back and talk about it. Chapter 1203. Yu Siwang's current appearance was really pitiful. He looked exactly like a pitiful woman who was abandoned. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched fiercely. She wanted to ask him if he was addicted to acting. When she was free, she would find a brothel for him to act as a top courtesan. Only then would his evil and enchanting face not be wasted. Luo Qingtong thought like this. She glanced at him angrily. Then she said to Su Yu and the others, "Let's go. Let's just let him act alone." She was not going to accompany him. As for the favor, she cured his heart disease before and saved his life. How many favors did she owe him? He was not done yet. And he wanted her to repay him. Luo Qingtong simply turned around. Su Yu and the others looked at Yu Siwang with sympathy. Then they immediately followed her footsteps. Hey, such a beautiful girl, how could she fall in love with their master? Their master was a woman. He was definitely going to be a heartless man. The group of people did not know the identity of Yu Siwang and Yu Xingqi. They immediately sighed in their hearts. But after knowing Yu Siwang's identity, they suddenly felt like they were struck by lightning. It was simply overturning their worldview. When Yu Siwang saw Luo Qingtong and the others leave, he couldn't care less about pretending anymore. Hey! Tong Tong! You wait! He hurriedly chased after them. Yu Xingqi carried the little white cat and followed behind him. He could not help but roll his eyes. He did not want to admit that this person was his brother. What should he do? The group of people walked out of the dark arena. Luo Qingtong was preparing to ask Siyu about the recent situation in the western wilderness. Then she heard a burst of noise coming from the front. She looked up and suddenly saw a group of people walking over with great fanfare. The leader was a man wearing a white robe with bamboo embroidered on it. That outfit was elegant and graceful. But the other party's eyes were somewhat deep and cold. He didn't seem to be such a noble person. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and saw that the group of people were stunned when they saw them. Then, the leader of the group, a young man in white, hurriedly walked towards them. Su Yu, are you all right? I've received news from my subordinates that the Qing clan has asked Elder Pan of the astonishing Heaven sect to act against the people of the heavenly diabolism. Thank you for your concern, young Master Bai. The matter has been resolved. Seeing this person, Siyu frowned and immediately took a step back to avoid the other party's outstretched hand. The latter's hand was still in midair. Suddenly, anger and sternness flashed in his eyes. At the same time, there was also a deep sense of doubt. What's going on? Bai Jintang's eyes shone with a cold light. He was the one who brought Elder Pan and the Qing clan together. At this moment, Siyu and Tian Xie's people should be trapped in the dark-colored arena, with no one to respond to them, their faces filled with despair. When most of the people of the heavenly diabolism were killed, he would make a move. With the identity of the Bai clan, he would save Siyu. How could he not be grateful to him? At that time, what could he do to him? Didn't he have no choice but to obey him? How did they come out of the dark arena? Who was the one who ruined his plans? Bai Jintang was furious. Chapter 1204. The matter here was almost over, so he had to return to his family as soon as possible. However, he was extremely unwilling to let go of such a beauty for no reason. However, Bai Jintang's thoughts were very deep. Even though he was angry, he didn't show it on his face. Even when Siyu avoided his hand, he didn't show any anger on his face. I forgot that, Siyu, you don't like it when I get too close. But Siyu, I really do care about you. You can choose not to accept my feelings, but the Qing family has tried to deal with you again and again. This time, they even invited a big shot like Elder Pan. Your heavenly diabolism alone won't be able to deal with them. Bai Jintang smiled at Siyu. I'll say it again. As long as you agree to become my person, I can openly use the Bai family's power to protect them. At that time, I'll naturally ensure the safety of the heavenly diabolism people. As for the Qing family and Elder Pan, I'll personally talk to them. Siyu, think about it carefully. Your heavenly diabolism might be able to escape this time, but next time, you might not have such an opportunity. Don't you think so? As soon as he said this, Luo Qingtong, who was standing next to Siyu, raised her hand and seduced Siyu, who was as cold as jade, in front of her. She raised her head and kissed Siyu on the cheek. Then she raised her eyes and looked at Bai Jintang. I'm sorry, young Master Bai, but Siyu is already mine. You're too late. Luo Qingtong listened for a long time and finally understood. It was obvious that this young Master Bai was gay and had taken a liking to Siyu. Was he going to force her? Luo Qingtong didn't think it was a coincidence that he came at this time. She had seen the look in the other party's eyes just now. This time, the Qing family and Elder Pan came to cause trouble. Even if he wasn't the instigator, he definitely had something to do with it. She still wanted to use this to threaten Siyu. Unfortunately, he didn't know that she dealt with all the members of the Qing clan. The one who did it was Elder Pan. Luo Qingtong looked at Bai Jintang indifferently, the smile on her lips indescribably frivolous and evil. You! Bai Jintang's expression finally changed. He looked at them and then looked at Siyu, who was obediently being hugged by Luo Qingtong. He was furious. Never would he have thought that his meticulously planned scheme would be taken advantage of by someone else. What made Bai Jintang even more excited was the fact that Siyu was lying in Luo Qingtong's arms without the slightest bit of struggle or unwillingness. That be *tch. Previously, when facing him, he even pretended to be unable to accept it. But now, it was lying obediently in the man's arms like a dog. Bai Jintang's face was ferocious. However, he quickly adjusted himself. There were so many people here. He couldn't ruin his own image for the other party. Chapter 1205. Suyu buried her face in her master's bosom. She looked embarrassed, but in fact, her face was twitching helplessly. After not seeing her for so long, her master's domineering temperament had not changed at all. But to be able to solve this problem of Bai Jintang was also good. Suyu did not know what was going on with the other party. He inexplicably took a fancy to her, and then began to pursue her. The problem was that she was a woman. How could a homosexual like her fall in love with a different gender? Master's move was perfect to prevent future troubles. Thinking like this, she let her master take liberties with her. At this time, Yu Si Wang caught up from behind. Seeing this scene, he suddenly stomped his feet. Tong! Jojo, I also want. Luo Qingtong looked at him and rolled her eyes. I don't like women. She hugged Su Yu and left. Luo Qingtong's words were completely correct. She originally did not like women. Yu Si Huang gritted his teeth and glared behind her, and then chased after her. Tian Xie's people also quickly followed. After Luo Qingtong and the others all left, Bai Jintang suddenly raised his head with a cold face. Pang! He crushed the fan in his hand. Slut! His eyes were cold, looking at the direction Su Yu and Luo Qingtong left. This pair of adulterous men. He originally thought that Su Yu was a peerless and pure product, like a distant cold jade that could not be touched. He did not expect that he was a slut that could be casually hooked up with. If he knew that the other party was a kindred spirit, and was just pretending to refuse, why would he waste so much effort? He would have set up a trap to get him. Bai Jintong's eyes were cold. The people around him heard his words, and immediately said to him to curry favor, Young master, this Su Yu really does not know how to appreciate favors. Refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Young master, you treated him well, but he did not appreciate it. Now he turned around and hooked up with someone else. Young master, I think he was just toying with you like a fool. That inconspicuous young man just now, I'm afraid he's already her lover. Young master, I don't think you should think about being gentle and gentlemanly. We might as well tie him up and *ck him. When the time comes, we'll teach them a lesson. How dare they play tricks on you, young master? Bai Jintong's gaze turned even colder as he listened to the person beside him. The anger in his heart grew even more intense. He clenched his hand into a fist and said coldly, Go and find out what's going on in the dark-colored arena. How can Tian Xie's people be fine? Also, what is the background of that young man? Report back to me after you found out everything. As he spoke, his expression was extremely ferocious. They better have some sort of power here, otherwise I'll make them wish they were dead. The person he had his eyes on had actually been intercepted halfway. Even if she was a slut, it was still a slap to his face. No matter what, he would not let this matter rest. Bai Jintong's expression was cold. Their Bai family was one of the top families in the wild city of the far west wilderness. He had come to Fenghua City this time for an important matter, so he had brought many of his family's elites with him. No matter what the other party's background was, the far west wilderness was their territory. He didn't think that he could cause Bai Jintang to disregard everything. Not to mention, she had been eyeing countless men all this while. She was probably just one of the names on his hunting list. Although he wanted to get her, it was insignificant compared to what he had to do. However, in order not to bring trouble to Luo Qingtong, Suyu decided to go out less for a while. However, master, why did you suddenly come to the far west wilderness this time? The surprise in Su Yu's heart hadn't completely disappeared. Luo Qingtong's appearance was really a surprise to her. Yes, there's a little matter. It's about the Saint King's tomb. Luo Qingtong revealed the purpose of her trip to the far west wilderness. Everyone here was on the same side. Chapter 1207. The group of people walked towards Heavenly Diabolism's base. On the other side, Bai Jintang had also received the news that his subordinates had gone to investigate. Eldest young master, it is said that the youth calls himself Yi Zhou. We don't know his background, but that elder Pan seems to be very respectful towards him. Those people from the Qing family were all killed by him just to curry favor with this Yi Zhou. In addition, the Qing family's plan to humiliate Siyu was also shattered by this youth called Yi Zhou. The Bai family's people handed over the information they had gathered. They couldn't help but sigh at the good luck of Su Yu and the others. Originally, their eldest young master had set up a flawless trap. Su Yu and Heavenly Diabolism's people were being made difficult. The Qing family already had enmity with Su Yu. They also had the Su family's hostage in their hands. Adding on Elder Pan's support, Su Yu and the others would not be able to escape this calamity. At that time, their eldest young master would lead the Bai family's people to make a move. They would pretend to owe the Bai family a favor and persuade Elder Pan to stop. At that time, they would kill the Qing family's people and save the Su family's people to vent Su Yu's anger. Why would they worry about not being able to win Su Yu's heart? Even if the other party was a man, they would probably be bent because of this kindness and care. They would let their eldest young master do whatever he wanted. Moreover, this Su Yu is said to be loyal and devoted to the master behind Heavenly Diabolism. Their eldest young master saved Heavenly Diabolism's people and saved Heavenly Diabolism from danger. He would definitely be moved to tears. Would they still be afraid that he wouldn't submit to their eldest young master? This subordinate had seen Bai Jintang use this method more than once. There had never been a time when it had failed. But this time, Siyu had made a mistake. Not only was he intercepted halfway, he was also fiercely slapped in the face. The scene of Siyu obediently snuggling up to that youth called Yi Zhou would probably make their eldest young master explode with anger. After all, when the other party was facing him, he didn't care about anything. But now, he was so obedient towards this youth. How could their eldest young master not be angry? Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so desperate to find out more about the other party. One had to know that this matter had been ordered by the clan. They had been keeping watch for such a long time, and were about to reel in the net. Young master, don't let this cause you to miss out on important matters. Humph. Yi Zhou. Bai Jintang looked coldly at the news presented by his subordinate. The scene of Su Yu snuggling in Luo Qingtong's arms appeared in his mind. The anger in his heart burned fiercely. It wasn't because she was deeply in love with Su Yu that she couldn't hold back her anger. Instead, it was him who had tried to please the other party, only to be slapped in the face. The latter turned around and threw herself into the arms of an ordinary young man. The other party had neither looks nor family background. So what if the other party was capable of causing Elder Pan to feel fear? He was probably a genius disciple from one of the southern domain's great sects. That Elder Pan was afraid of him, but he wasn't. Thinking of this, Bai Jintang's eyes were filled with malice. But out of caution, he still asked that subordinate, did that Elder Pan say what the other party's background was? If the other party was really not to be trifled with, then even if he was slapped in the face, Bai Jintang would give up on taking revenge on the other party. After all, he still had important family matters to attend to. He couldn't afford to get into too much trouble. Moreover, their Bai family in the far west wilderness wasn't able to cover the sky with one hand. Chapter 1208. Yu Si Huang was still dressed as a woman. Elder Pan would be crazy to say the other's identity. As for Luo Qingtong, he really didn't know her identity. Oh. Bai Jintang sneered. You didn't see anyone secretly protecting the Yi Zhou at the scene. Have you asked the Dark Colors Arena about this? Yes, I did, the subordinate replied. The Dark Colors Arena's people confirmed that there was no one protecting him. But that subordinate said with some hesitation, the Dark Colors Arena's people said that Yijio had already been hired as a guest elder by their deacon. Young master, I'm afraid we can't openly make a move against them in front of others. The Dark Colors Arena's guest elders had the ability to use the Dark Colors Arena's strength. If they made a move against them in front of others, the Dark Colors people would definitely not ignore it. Humph. Who said I'm going to make a move against them in front of others? Bai Jintang sneered. He wasn't that stupid to leave such a big handle for others to catch. Since the Yijio's origin wasn't ordinary, he would naturally act in secret. At that time, he would definitely make the other side cry for the heavens, cry for the earth, but there would be no response. Night. Luo Qingtong was in Su Yu's room. She had just finished asking the other about the situation in the far west wilderness when she suddenly felt a strange aura, suddenly filling the entire room. Her eyes flashed slightly, and in an instant, she popped a pill into Su Yu's mouth, who hadn't discovered anything strange. Then she softly shushed her, and then softly fell back to the ground. Seeing her action, Su Yu instantly understood. Suddenly, with the pill that Luo Qingtong gave her in her mouth, she also closed her eyes and softly fell to the ground. That pill melted in her mouth, there was no need for Su Yu to chew and swallow it. As soon as she closed her eyes, she felt two figures rush in from outside the door. Then, each of them carried her and Luo Qingtong, and rushed out the way they came. Luo Qingtong sensed carefully and found that no one else in heavenly diabolism was hurt. The other party seemed to be targeting her and Su Yu. She immediately understood. These people were also lucky, as Yu Siwang had received a message from Elder Pan that he had something to do. Otherwise, before they could even make a move, their necks would have been broken by the other party and thrown in front of them. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She was not in a hurry. Whoosh! After the two of them left the heavenly diabolism's encampment, there were immediately people in charge of receiving them. Luo Qingtong and Su Yu were placed on the carriage and they quickly left Fenghua City. I didn't expect things to go so smoothly. The two men who kidnapped Luo Qingtong and Su Yu laughed. Young master really didn't miscalculate. Sure enough, there's no one protecting him. That's right. When the time comes, we'll just shift the blame to Elder Pan and this matter will be over. Who told that Elder Pan to be so stupid? When he saw that young master sent people to question the Dark Colors, he wanted to investigate the matter clearly and tell heavenly diabolism's people. Young master can beat him at his own game and kidnap him. When the time comes, we'll let Elder Pan take the blame. The two men laughed. Luo Qingtong then knew why Yu Sihuang was called out by Elder Pan. Her lips slightly twitched. That Elder Pan was also unlucky. He was inexplicably used by Bai Jintang. Chapter 1209. Otherwise, they wouldn't have succeeded today. But this also saved her a lot of trouble. Originally, Luo Qingtong thought that if young master Bai didn't come to provoke them again, this time's matter would be over. She also didn't have time to dawdle with the other party. But if the other party insisted on finding trouble, then don't blame her for cutting the weeds and eliminating the roots. Bai Jintang wanted to shift the blame to Elder Pan for tonight's matter. That means no one else knew that they were kidnapped. This is very good. Luo Qingtong's lips slightly curled up. After Su Yu ate Luo Qingtong's elixir, she had been awake the whole time. When she heard the words of these two people, she immediately blamed herself. This was another trouble she had caused, and she had even implicated her master to suffer along with her. She wanted to move, but although the elixir given by Luo Qingtong could keep her awake, in order to not let the other party discover any clues, she really couldn't move her body. Luo Qingtong saw her look towards her side and immediately put her index finger to her lips, silently shushing her, telling her not to be anxious and to continue pretending to be unconscious. At this time, the carriage stopped. The two people in front jumped off the carriage, came to the back of the carriage, opened the curtain, and carried Luo Qingtong and Siyu again, and walked to the front of the manor. It's done. There were specialized people waiting outside to provide support. Looking at the two people carrying Su Yu and Luo Qingtong, that person sneered, and then said, "Send them to young master's room. When young master and the other officials have finished their discussion, then slowly deal with them." Yes. The two people responded, and immediately carried Luo Qingtong and Su Yu inside. The two people were thrown into a room. After they left, Luo Qingtong opened her eyes and looked around. Luo Qingtong's eyes slightly narrowed, looking at the exquisite decorations and furnishings. Sure enough, it was the residence of young Master Bai. The decorations here were very luxurious. It was just a temporary residence, but the decorations were so luxurious. This Bai Jintang really knew how to enjoy life. Luo Qingtong thought, and raised her hand to release Su Yu's body. "Master." As soon as the latter's body was released, she immediately opened her mouth impatiently. "Let's leave here quickly." Su Yu's heart was anxious. Bai Jintang's strength wasn't weak, and with so many experts of the Bai family here, she was worried about Luo Qingtong's safety. "I'm fine." Luo Qingtong nodded at her. She walked to a nearby cabinet and suddenly narrowed her eyes. Then, she raised her hand and suddenly flicked 3 times on a vase placed in the cabinet. 3 flicks of Qingtong, 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 Qingtong. Then, Qingtong, 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 Qingtong. Qingtong, Qingtong of Qingtong's Qingtong, Qingtong, Qingtong. Qingtong S. It revealed a secret passage that was large enough for one person to pass through. A strange smell wafted out from it. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. When she smelled this scent, a sharp glint suddenly appeared in her bloody light. This smell was all too familiar to her. Murderous aura, faintly emitted from Luo Qingtong's body. Her expression was cold as she rushed in through the secret door. Su Yu followed behind her. The two of them entered the secret door, and the door closed behind them. After moving forward for a short distance. Chapter 12:10. Bastard! Su Yu looked at the scene in front of her and could not contain the anger in her heart. She saw that at the end of the secret passage was a huge room. There were all kinds of special torture instruments placed inside. There was a man sitting or lying on top of each torture instrument. These people were of different ages, but the only thing they had in common was that they were all very handsome. These people each had their own temperament, but at this moment, these handsome men with different temperaments were all covered with signs of abuse. They were either hanging or kneeling and looked like they were on the verge of death. There were a few people who had completely lost their lives. "Quick! Quick, leave!" One of them heard the movement and raised his head to look at Luo Qingtong and Su Yu. He tried his best to weakly shake the shackles on his hands and called out to them weakly. "Master!" Su Yu's eyes were red. She looked at these people and she had seen some of them in Fenghua City. So these people were all men that Bai Jintang had kidnapped and played with after coming to Fenghua City. Not only did he like men, but he also had a special hobby. He even had such a hobby of abuse. Looking at the men who had their eyes gouged out, their hands chopped off, their legs chopped off, and their bodies bound with all kinds of torture instruments, the anger in Su Yu's heart burned fiercely. She thought of herself and her master. If her master was not powerful enough and had made preparations beforehand, would they also have ended up like this after being kidnapped? This Bai Jintang was simply wretched. At the same time, Su Yu was very glad that when Bai Jintang had taken a fancy to her, he did not seem to be prepared to kidnap her. Otherwise, she and the people of Tianxia would not be able to escape the fate of destruction. They would not have been able to wait for her master to arrive. This kind of person was simply too disgusting and too terrifying. Just as Su Yu was raging in her heart, Luo Qingtong's eyes were also very cold. When she had just opened the tunnel, the smell that she smelled was the smell of death and decay. It was a mixture of blood and tears, and it was simply too disgusting. When Luo Qingtong wasn't strong enough in her previous life, she was also locked up in such a place and forced to watch countless tortures and deaths. Those people wanted her ability. They wouldn't do anything to her, but they wanted to use such a method to disgust her and make her submit. Luo Qingtong was deeply disgusted by such things. Once she had the strength, she would immediately destroy that organization. She also let those who participated in the matter of forcing her have a taste of those torturous beggars. Now, this underground passage evoked a very unpleasant memory of this matter in the depths of her heart. At this moment, Luo Qingtong wanted to kill someone. Bang bang bang. Luo Qingtong's aura burst out, shattering all the torture instruments. Give these to them. If they can live, they can live. If they can't, they can only die. Luo Qingtong handed several bottles of liquid medicine to Su Yu. She was not an immortal. Many people here had already been destroyed to the point of certain death. Their internal organs and bones were all destroyed. It was already not bad for them to be able to drag their last breath and live until now. Not to mention those who had their eyes gouged out and their hands and feet chopped off. The most important thing was that many people here had the will to die because of this kind of abuse. Since they didn't want to live, how could Luo Qingtong save them? She also didn't want to waste her effort. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.